Well, hello there, you beautiful bastard. Thank you for joining me in this video. As you can see, there are not many people around, so we can talk about anything we want to. But actually, we're going to talk about sadness. How sadness is just feedback from yourself to yourself, most of the time, that you're holding on to something from the past, and that the past needs completion so you can step into whatever season of your life you're actually in. You can stand where you are, be present in yourself and your life, and start moving forward again. The other day I had a really great coaching session with someone, well, the other week, where they unexpectedly burst into tears. It was unexpected because this guy that I was coaching, who's a great guy, shout out if you're watching, is a very stoic individual. There's not much emotion gets shown, very masculine bloke, but all of a sudden the tears just came. And what happened in that moment was a release, because ultimately when you don't complete the past and you hold on to it, it creates tension inside you, and you can spend years and years and years, even decades, just carrying all kinds of shit that you don't need to carry. And the only way home is to face it. You got to feel it to heal it, so you can return back to your life, so you can become present. And so ultimately that's what we're going to talk about: how sadness completes the past, how to work through that process, and how you can grow real by facing whatever it is that you need to face, and realizing that the past is done and here you are. As you can see, I've got my chicken legs out today. I underdressed for the occasion. I thought it was going to be really hot today, and then I came up in the hills and it turns out it's the direct opposite of that. So a little nugget of information for you there. Well, this is about as Yorkshire as it gets. Limestone pavement, loads of big ass hills, pretty amazing. Anyway, before we get started, or even more started, I want to point out that there's two kinds of sadness. There's situational sadness and there's dispositional sadness. Situational sadness is kind of short-lived, and there's an obvious reason as to why you feel the sadness. Maybe your puppy got run over, or somebody you loved passed away, or you lost your job, or something like that. There's some situation that explains the sadness, and it's kind of self-evident why you're feeling sad. And with that kind of sadness, all you need to do is just work through it, process the loss, deal with whatever's changed, catch up with yourself. It's kind of straightforward. The other kind of sadness is dispositional sadness, and dispositional sadness is a lot harder to deal with because there's no obvious source of the sadness itself. As you just saw, I nearly fell down a pothole and died, which is not good because there's no phone signal up here. Anyway, dispositional sadness, it kind of just bubbles away beneath the surface of your life. There's no real thing that you can label as being the source of the sadness. It just keeps humming along, haunting you beneath the surface of your life and everything that you do. That's the kind of sadness that I'm talking about in this video. You'll know if you've got it because it'll just pop up randomly. Everything might be fine on the surface, but maybe you're watching a movie or something and you feel like crying. That happened to me once upon a time when I was watching School of Rock. Or maybe, I know, you'll listen to a song on the radio, maybe you're in the shower. It could just be some random thing, but there's a reservoir of sadness inside you, and it gets prompted, and then all of a sudden you feel sadness. You might cry, you might not, but either way the sadness is there. That's the kind of sadness that we're dealing with in this video. Here's another view of the limestone pavement, just because it's awesome. There's more limestone around this part of Yorkshire than anything else, as far as I know, if you're into stones and rocks. Sadness is also different to depression. Depression is what happens when you become detached from your realness, who you really are, but so much so that you stop moving. You take yourself completely out of the flow of yourself in terms of your evolution and growth and your purpose, your expression of who you are through real action. You take yourself so far away from those things that you stop moving completely. And then when you become depressed, or you become depressed, because human beings are supposed to keep moving. We're supposed to keep evolving. We're supposed to go deeper and deeper into wholeness. And when we take ourselves out of that, then we feel depressed, ultimately, unless there's some chemical thing. But a lot of the time, it's because we stop moving. We don't know what to do. Sadness, you can still be moving on the surface. You might be making progress in life. You might be moving towards your goals. You might have a relationship that's satisfying overall. Your career might be all right. Whatever it is, you're still kind of moving. But every so often, the sadness creeps in and it interrupts the flow. It stops you moving. It holds you back. It causes you to judge yourself. It causes you to doubt yourself. It causes you to fear. It causes you to hold back and hesitate. That's the kind of sadness that we're dealing with. It's the kind of sadness that weighs you down and makes it really hard for you to just be who you are, feel what you feel, do what you need to do, and actually show up in your own life. In general then, if this kind of sadness keeps creeping in and disrupting our flow and our growth and our evolution, then it means that we're holding on to something that we don't need to hold on to. It means that there's some unresolved thing from the past that we need to resolve so we can build an even more consistent sense of flow. What it's going to be different for everyone, but it might be a self-image that you carry of yourself that you picked up. It might be a belief or a set of beliefs about yourself, the world, reality. It's probably going to be some kind of emotion, some underlying stuff, shame, guilt, trauma, in most cases, for most people. It might be some wound, some specific wound. You got your heart broken or something happened somewhere along the line that is still reverberating through your experience of yourself and not allowing you to be who you actually are now in the present. It could be anything, and it's up to you to figure out what that is. But basically it comes down to this principle that you need to face it to release it. So much of the time we get caught up in resistance and all of the habits and behaviors that come from resistance because we don't want to face that stuff. We don't want to look to the past to let go of it, which is basically all we need to do. You have to feel it to heal it. And so we just end up running around like headless chickens, trying to avoid ourselves, avoid our shadows, avoid all the things that we're hiding. Only if we stop doing that and face what we need to face is the past going to be something we can finally let go of and put down so we can start picking up the pace on our real life. So like I said, it's totally different for everybody, what they need to let go of, what they need to complete. In general, we're all on the same path of going from unreal to real, from fragmentation to wholeness. But the specific path that we walk individually is different for all of us. And so the scenery as we go from unreal to real or fragmentation to wholeness is totally unique to us and what we've been through, what we were born with, our bodies and our minds and all this kind of stuff, where we were born. In general though, there are three main things I would say that normally cause the kind of sadness that means the past is incomplete. And also this path is getting a bit rocky. So if I fall over and die, don't be sad about that. That's a situational thing. You'll totally get over it eventually. But anyway, there are three general things that cause most people to hold on to the past and experience this dispositional sadness that just creeps in sometimes. The three things are that they've picked up a self-image somewhere along the line that is unreal. They picked up a version of themselves that they were told to be instead of actually stepping up and finding out who they are. They picked it up from their parents or from school or from society, and it becomes an ego, i.e. a fragmented version of the self, where so many real things get sent into hiding in the shadow self. And so they're always going to feel at least some sadness because they're disconnected from themselves and they're not expressing everything that they can express. So that's the first one that's really common. I've seen this with quite a lot of coaching clients. The second one is that they have been betrayed or wounded. Somebody broke their heart. That doesn't mean just romantically, but they've got a broken heart somewhere along the line. But instead of allowing the heart to be broken so that it can start to heal itself, which it will do, because if you just feel what you need to feel and remember that emotions are emotion, energy, emotion, then the process kind of takes care of itself as long as you get out your own way. Instead of accepting that their heart is broken, there's a bee buzzing around me now, they close their heart and they put themselves in a little mental cage where they block their emotions from moving. Again, emotions are emotion, energy and movement, energy and motion. They stop their emotions from moving because they create a conceptual block, and they stop anything from coming through that mental prison that they put themselves in. And so they always feel sad because the process cannot complete itself. And then the third reason is what I already said: shame, guilt and trauma. People have shame, guilt and trauma from the past, and it just makes them feel like there's something wrong with them. Shame is the belief, the core assumption even, that I am not good enough as I am. Guilt is that we think we've done something that makes us so terrible that we can never be forgiven. And trauma is that the world has caused us to freeze up so much that we became disconnected from ourselves and life. Every single one of those things, the self-image or identity, the broken heart or the wound, and shame, guilt and trauma, they're all just about riding the process that you need to ride through in order to go from the past and the echoes that the emotions are causing you to remain stuck in back to the present. It's a process, i.e. you can go from point A to point B, and as long as you know that and you don't freeze up, then you can get to where you need to be, which is right here, right now. And then the sadness is going to dissolve because the past will be complete. You can say, it is what it is, I am what I am, and it's done. And you can stand here in your own life, doing what you need to do and getting ready to move forward into deeper wholeness. So I'm starting to feel a little bit like I'm in Lord of the Rings or something like that. Gollum's going to pop out any second and ask to see my precious. Not happening, Gollum. Anyway, I heard this story a while back, which was apparently from an African tribe, but I don't know if that's really true. People always say that stories are from like an African tribe or some far off place to make it seem more esoteric and meaningful. So don't let that part of the story or the origin of the story affect the way you interpret the story, because it's meaningful anyway. The story was that this tribe believes that when we come here to planet Earth to live our lives, we all have this innate understanding of a cargo that we're supposed to deliver in our lifetimes. And if we don't deliver the cargo, or we don't feel like we're in the process of delivering the cargo, then we start to feel off. And I think in relation to what we said in this video, that kind of fits really nicely with the sadness thing. We feel sad, this dispositional sadness, can't even speak, when we know deep down that we're not doing the work we're supposed to be doing. We're not expressing what we need to express. We're not doing what needs doing in this lifetime. And we know that time keeps ticking. We're all going to be dead one day. And so we can try and build these little structures and systems so that we can feel like everything's fine and we can sweep it all under the carpet. But then the sadness is just going to creep in here and there because we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing. Depression is when it gets so bad that we forget we even have any cargo, that we're so disconnected from our essence and from life itself that we think there's just no direction to move in. But with the sadness that we're talking about in this video, the fact that we're not delivering our cargo is normally caused by some of those things that I talked about earlier. A self-image that is misaligned with reality and truth, some wound from the past that's made you close your heart and give up on life, shame, guilt and trauma that make you fear for yourself and life and become disconnected from it and end up living in the void, a state of disconnection from truth. All of those things cause you to hold back and hesitate on expressing what you need to express and delivering that cargo to the people in your life that are waiting for you to show up and give your gift. And so I suppose if you want to start thinking about this in relation to your own life, what is it that's stopping you from delivering your cargo, from giving your gifts to the world, from being the expression of yourself that you know you could be if you could just get rid of that inner tension? Sorry, I keep getting distracted by this landscape, it's amazing. If you could just let go of that inner tension and release it and start showing up as yourself. Whatever is stopping you from delivering that cargo, that is what's weighing you down. That is what's stopping you from completing the past. And once you see it for what it is, and you face it for what it is, you can start delivering the things you came here to deliver. So this is one of those moments where I feel like It's just me and God. This is totally amazing. But it's also one of those moments where it's not going to show up on camera, because no camera in the world can make this look as good as it looks in real life. But trust me, this is a godly experience right now. We can boil a lot of this down by saying that if that dispositional sadness keeps creeping in, it's feedback that you need to do two things. You need to get in touch with your essence, your realness, and then you need to express it through some kind of real action so you can deliver that cargo. You get in touch with your essence, your realness, by going through a process of awareness and acceptance. Awareness means you start to deconstruct your ego, your identity, the version of yourself that you had to create to deal with whatever you went through in the past without fully feeling it, so you can keep resisting it. Resistance is just the glue that keeps all your pain where it is. The ego is the source of resistance, ultimately. And so you need to start looking at how your ego is making you believe things about yourself that aren't true, that aren't real, making you believe things about the world that aren't real, making you believe things about life that aren't real, that's making you hold back and hesitate and continue to perform instead of being present. Once you've done that, you can make space for acceptance, which in this case is about integrating the shadow self. The ego and the shadow are always in a constant battle. Let me just stop talking for a second and show you this view again. Look at this. This is insane. Wow. The ego and the shadow are in a constant battle, because the ego is who you are in your fragmentation, the fragmented version of you that you created to survive whatever you went through, like we said. The shadow is all of the parts of you, good and bad, that you had to disown to keep that ego in place. And so once you've reconfigured the ego and raised awareness, nearly died, of who you really are, what you really are, then the shadow, all the parts of you that you sent into exile that are very real, can start to come back to the surface. Once you've done that, you're ready to get into the expression mode. So awareness and acceptance lead you to your essence, which is realness. Acceptance, I'm getting stunned again by the view. Acceptance allows you to integrate the shadow so you can become whole. I think I just rambled for like 30 seconds there. But what I'm saying is awareness and acceptance put you in touch with your essence. Then you're ready to take real action. You're ready to trust yourself and trust life, to go out there and deliver that cargo and start doing what you need to do without trying to fill a void. Just doing it because it's an expression of that essence. You trust yourself, you trust life, you do what you can do, you let life do what you can't do. That's basically the way forward. The more you live like that, the more that sadness is going to dissolve, because that sadness is just reminding you basically that you're not doing that. You're not living in that real way. And so when you go through that process of getting in touch with your essence and expressing it, the sadness will dwindle and dissolve and even dissipate completely, because you're back on the path you're supposed to be on. That's why this sadness keeps creeping in and breaking the flow. It's showing you that you're not being yourself and you're not doing what only you can do with your gifts here in this lifetime. Until we go through that process and start dealing with the sadness, the dispositional sadness, then we're always going to feel a kind of inner tension, a restlessness, a feeling that there's more to life. I call that the void a lot of the time, because the void is the state we live in when we become disconnected from the truth, which is really what the sadness is showing us, that we've deviated from our real path. When we deviate like that, it causes inner tension. And that tension keeps building up and building up and building up, looking for a release. You might be aware of that tension if you're watching this video. Not because I'm causing it, although that is possible, but because you can relate to what I'm saying. You've got the sadness, it creeps in. That tension is going to keep looking for a release until it finds a way to release naturally, which it will do if you go through that process of awareness, acceptance, and action, which is the process I walk my coaching clients through. Or you can read about it in my books if you want. Until you return to your normal, your real path. I keep getting really distracted in this video. Maybe it's better to make videos in god-awful, ugly places that don't overwhelm me with their sublimity. But anyway, until you go through that process and return to your real path, you're going to keep looking for a release of tension in ways that don't serve you. It might be sexual release in a way that's not healthy. It might be spending too much money. It might be some addiction to like alcohol or drugs or another person in the worst case. It'll be something, because all of those addictions and compulsions are a reaction to this inner tension that we carry. And until we face ourselves and we face life and release that tension by returning to reality, then we're never going to feel that we're on the path to completion and delivering that cargo. Not that we'll ever be complete in this lifetime, because we're all fragmented beings in fragmented bodies. That client that broke down in the session, he finally got the release. And so sometimes sadness will release itself with tears. The tears of the way. They're returning you to the path, to the way that you're supposed to be on. It's not a failure if that does happen. It's just a release. And so all I'm saying, I'll stop rambling about it, is that you need to understand the relationship between tension and release, because if you don't, you'll keep adding tension instead of releasing it. Now I gotta walk up these stairs. Basically up the stairs. Didn't want to fill my journey up because I've been puffing and panting like I was dying. I didn't want to depress anybody. Plus, I want to look like I'm much healthier than I am, so that I can pretend to be an action man out here in the great outdoors. Oh my god, fuck, what the fuck? Well, I've made a new frenemy. This sheep is highly suspicious of me, but it hasn't rammed me yet, which is good. Say hello to the camera. Nope, not happening today, that's fine. I'm not offended. He's really staring me down, or she. Are you okay? Oh, I guess not. Essentially, if that sadness keeps showing up in your life, then it's feedback from your relationship with yourself and life that you need to let go of something, that you need to complete something so you can let go of it. There's more sheep here. All of a sudden the sheep are surrounding me. That's a baby sheep. It's adorable. I don't know if you can see on the camera. Hey guy. Meh. It's a sign that you need to complete the past. That's going to be different for everybody, like I said. But what you need to do is raise awareness of it and how it's causing you to change the way you see yourself, because your self-image becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And so if your self-image is real, you're going to have a real life. But if it's unreal, you're going to have an unreal one. Then you need to accept that the past is gone, it's done, that you are who you are today, that you can be present in your life. And then you need to act. Awareness, acceptance, and action. You want to get to the point where you know that it's done. You can say to yourself, it's done, it's over, here I am. Then you can move forward, you can build flow, and you don't have to weigh yourself down. So if that helped you, awesome. I think it's a long video, so if you made it all the way through, many thanks. If you want to talk to me, you can book a call on my website, ollyanderson.co.uk/talk. But stay real out there. Keep moving, keep evolving, feel it to heal it, and don't let the past weigh you down. Peace.